Hello, all my Be in Demand listeners. Today, I have a treat for you, and you are not going to want to miss this episode. I am bringing on Julie DeLucca-Collins, and she is the coach at Go Confidently Coaching. She's also got a podcast. She's written a book. She is a wealth of information. And we are going to be talking about how before her online coaching business, how the business that she had, how she was known. And she was known because of speaking, because every time you speak, people are getting to know you, like you, and trust you. You've heard me say this over and over again, so let's get on to the show. You're listening to Be in Demand, the podcast for honest advice, inspiring stories, and ideas for growing your business by leveraging the expert that you are. I'm your host, Laurie-Ann, business mentor, and I'm also a reformed painfully shy girl, red wine lover, and exercise enthusiast. Join me as I share how being positioned as the expert in your industry, even if it's a busy one, will help you stand out and be the one in demand to hire and work with. Julie, thank you so much for coming on this, because I know that we're going to have a fabulous conversation, because I've already got a list of things that I want to talk about.
I'm excited, Laurie-Ann. Thank you for having me. This is so great to connect with you again.
Yes. So I know that, like my audience doesn't know a lot about your background, but just give us like the cliff notes to the preschool, school, to the corporate education company.
Yeah. So I knew that I always wanted to help people, and I came from a family of educators. And when I was sort of not able to figure it out, I thought I'm going to be a teacher. And I went to school for early childhood. I started to work at a preschool. I did pre-K, and I loved it, but I was exhausted and really not a morning person. And you have to be really up and ready to handle life early in the morning when you're a teacher. And then I got the opportunity to work as the junior high youth minister in my church. And I loved it. I loved working with middle school. So people thought I was crazy because I enjoy working with the preschoolers, kindergarten, and then also the middle schoolers. They're a great age. But at the same time, I knew I wanted more, but I wasn't sure what that meant. And I was recruited by an educational company in early 2000. One, because I had the background in education, but I also had retail background. Going through school, I worked in retail and had that experience. And I thought, well, this is an interesting thing. I loved what I was doing. I was basically, it's a franchise company, but I was running one of their corporate centers, one of their corporate tutoring centers. And I took the worst performing center out of 40 in the corporate owned system into one of the top performings in a year. And really what I did is I asked one of the founders, I said, how do I do this? How do I make this successful? What is the secret? And she said, relationships. Go and meet with schools, meet with the teachers, meet with the parents. And of course, as an extrovert, relationships come very easily. Meeting people, it's not something out of the ordinary for me. So I did that. And really that is one of the things that led me to have very big success within the company in my first couple of years in there. And then I was promoted. I had my first promotion. I was promoted 6-7 times in 9 years. I think I started to calculate that. And certainly I was very lucky, because my last role with that company, I reported to both of the founders, the CEO and the COO. So I learned how to be able to not only develop business, but run the business from both sides of the coin. And I think that a lot of people, you either go into development, sales, or into operations, and running in and out. And one of the things that I'm really so fortunate is that I had that experience, and I had the opportunity to represent this company in national stages in Capitol Hill to really advocate for education, which is something that I felt very passionate about. I was recruited for another company, another educational company, and I loved what I was doing. I really felt like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. The one thing that kept coming up for me, though, is number one, I come from a family also of very strong women. My grandmother was a great influence in my life. And she felt very strongly to provide opportunities for women, to empower women. And as an educator or in the field of education, again, there's a lot of women. But one of the things that I kept hearing from my peers in the corporate side is that, oh, I wish I was as confident as you are. I wish I was as confident as, you are to get to what you're doing and look at all these things. And I just kept thinking, I'm not that confident and I don't always have it together. And I think that this is the thing where many people, and even now, right, we look at somebody else's Instagram feed. We look at someone talking about what they're doing and where they've been, publishing a book, having this, and we don't realize that there's a backstory to everything. Mm-hmm. And that backstory, sometimes it's not having it all together, but it's just doing the work despite of it. Showing up.
I'm going to stop you here because there's so much that I want to unpack here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just talk about this confidence, because I agree. People can look at me and say, oh, like that must be nice that you can get up there in front of, like, walk on stage, like speak on Zoom. Like I don't have that, but I'm a reformed, painfully shy girl. And I tell people that because once upon a time, I couldn't even look people in the eyes to talk to them, and was able to teach myself. Now, let's also talk about, I don't always feel confident. Yeah. But I can tell my body to, you know what, we're walking into this networking event. I'm going to stretch out my hand and I'm going to meet people.
That's right.
And it's almost like in the process of action, it's like I remember, okay, I am confident.
Yeah. The action and being in action is the thing that I call the antidote to the overwhelm. Because as you're walking into this big room with tons of people, we're focusing on, wow, there's a room of 200 people. What am I going to say to them? What are they going to think of me? And we're in this thought loop that we're judging ourselves, we're whatever it is, right? Or we're getting into our people pleasing mode, or into, I'm going to control the situation, or I don't know, the unknown. But when you start to getting in action and you walk in and you stretch out your hand and say, hi, I'm Julie. I'm Laurie-Ann. You're in action, and all of a sudden you begin that minute interaction that can help someone just kind of get out of the big picture loop, right? Because you don't have to meet the 200 people in there. You're just having that one interaction. And by the way, we all know our name. We can say that. We can probably talk about where we live, how many kids we have, our dogs, all of that. And that's just what it is human interaction in a very minute level. But we make it mean that I have to be the life of the party in this big area when you don't. Not
everybody can be the life of the party.
No, and not everybody wants to have. Can you imagine if everybody walked into a room thinking, I'm going to be the life of the party? That would be a terrible party.
It would be. Nobody would be paying attention to anybody or meeting
That's
anybody.
Right. That's right.
So consumed with being the life of the party. Now, because I know that, and people who are going to read the show notes are going to know that you're also certified in Tiny Habits.
I am.
And so what we were just talking about, I know my name. Yeah. That's almost like extending our hand, saying, hi, I'm Julie, I'm Laurie-Ann. Like that's a tiny habit that leads to another tiny habit, which is what brings you here.
What brings you here? Absolutely. One of my favorite phrases, by the way, and for the listeners, when you are stuck and you're not sure of what to say to somebody, I love to say, well, tell me more about you. Wow. Like, if you say that to me, and I'm sure if I said that to you, you're like, well, what do you want to know? And I'll say, I don't know. What should I know about you? Right. Yeah. That immediately puts someone at ease. And because that's the one thing that we can all really are experts on.
Right. Is ourselves. I also ask the question, especially if you go to an in-person event and it says like, hey, like I'm a social media manager, I'm an accountant. What did you do before that?
Oh, so
I
good.
I love hearing people's stories, which is why I was so fascinated with your preschool to corporate to the online world, which we're going to get to a little bit more. But I'm always so fascinated because I look back on my own path and, like college, healthcare. I never heard of being an entrepreneur.
Right.
But here I am. I just think people's pathways are so fascinating.
They are fascinating. Laurie-Ann, I've done the Camino de Santiago, which is a pilgrimage in Spain. And one of my favorite things about it is when you get to the end of the day, you typically get to whatever town you're spending the night, and then you end up meeting other pilgrims that have been on the road. But what happened to you today? What was your experience? And we were all on the same road, right? But they could have seen different things, met different people, or the places where they stayed the night before, very different from yours. And that is such a rich experience. And that's what life is about. We are all on this road, but you're probably doing things a little different or experience things from another perspective. And it's so fun to learn about everybody else's experiences.
Oh, I don't think we talked about you doing the Camino when we first met, but that is on my bucket list, by the way.
Oh, well, join me, May.
You're doing it again in May? Ooh.
So I've been doing it in stages, and I was supposed to go back in 2020 to finish it. And of course, we know what happened.
Yeah. But I have a friend who does it every 3 years. Every 3 years he goes, and it's just like whoever wants to join him. He's
that's what I'm going to be doing. That's what I'm.
Good for you.
Yeah,
so let's go back to how you asked for help, because that really sticks out to me. I think as entrepreneurs we expect like, oh my God, I have to do it all, and there's also that. What you also like alluded to about, like making it look like I've got it all together, so you can't ask for, I know like myself in my beginning years, I was afraid to ask for help because if I asked for help, then people would, this was my thinking, they would judge me that I didn't know what I was doing, but I love that you asked for help.
Yeah, that was one of the tough lessons I learned in corporate. And without going into a lot of detail, but I messed up badly, and I should have asked for help before things went off the rail. But when I did ask for help, it didn't make me less competent. It didn't make me less capable. It just made me someone who understood her capacity. And we end up not asking for help because we make it mean something about us. And we immediately begin to place the thought that other people may be having. And even if they are thinking, oh my God, why do the reality is, as a good leader, is understanding our capacity and empowering others to take on the roles that help them do the thing that they do best, right? And for me, taking, and by the way, not perfect at all. There are many times in which in this entrepreneur role, I want to do it all. But this is the thing that I go back to. If I am the CEO of my business, and this is what I teach my clients, it's not that you're not capable, able, or it's beneath you to do other things in your business. But when you are doing the thing, right, which many times could be, oh, I'm going to create my little content for Facebook on Canva. That 1 hour is the 1 hour that you're showing up as the admin in your business and not the CEO in your business. Because the CEO in a business delegate some of these tasks to people, not that because we're not capable or it's beneath us, but because our time and there's tasks as the CEO of our business that only us can do. I am the only person that can have a conversation with someone about working with me. If I am going to be on a show and I need to talk to someone in a pre-interview, I can't send my VA. I can't send anybody else other than me.
Mhm.
So it's very important to begin to identify daily what are the tasks that actually move you closer to your goals, and which are the tasks that you need to ask for help. Because listen, I can do work on Excel, but that's not my area of expertise. And if I'm going to be working on Excel, I better allocate a few hours as opposed to someone that can do it faster and better than I can.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so true. And learning those skills, I think from your corporate experience about, like what are the skills that I'm going to need to either be an employee or be a CEO in my own company. And you doing graphics, that's being an employee.
That is being an employee. And again, there are valuable people in our team who can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're valuable people not because, that's like, and this is the thing, like people think, well, so I need to explain it to them. It's going to take longer to explain than me doing it. Yeah, but you're not placing yourself in a position for growth. Because as the tasks grow, you need to be able to expand to other things. And if you continue to do that, you're not giving yourself the ability to expand, to grow. And I know not everybody wants to grow, but everybody wants to be successful and make it work. And it's not going to continue to work because you will burn out. And that's what ends up happening to a lot, especially women, because we're juggling careers, we're juggling home, we're juggling friendships, we're juggling everything.
Husband's business on my end.
Yeah, same here.
I handle the back end of his business.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And without having, those boundaries and being able to ask for help, and even just telling him, when he makes a request, like, here's what I can do and here's what I can't do, but I can do it, in a couple of days.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So good. So you're speaking my language for sure, because this happens here all the time.
So this brings us to a great, talking about planning. Because you like, what's that phrase? You either plan to fail or you plan to succeed, but either way, we're always planning.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is such a timely conversation. My dad used to say, perfect previous planning prevents problems. And then the company where I went to work for, that I reported to the CEO, he used to say, perfect previous planning promotes peak performance. And I thought, I can't escape this, can I? And I had to learn, and really, for people who know the DISC or the Enneagram, I am a 7 on the Enneagram. I am an I, I'm a high D, equal both. And planning sometimes seems redundant. And I thought, I don't know, I can't stay within the walls of planning. This is terrible. But the reality is that there is so much freedom when you plan. There is so much freedom in predictability and scheduling. And I love the plan because not every day do I get up and do I feel like doing the thing, right? Mm-hmm. However, when I have a plan, it is so much easier to just go back and it's like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Today is Tuesday. I have clients in the afternoon. In the morning, I record. And in the evening, I have some downtime, right? So if I want to fit, visiting a friend or doing something, I can do it on Tuesdays because my plan says I can and it's open.
I love this. First of all, in the DISC, I'm a capital D, a bold with a medium size I, or maybe it's just not that bold, but I am also a 7, but just like what you said, my human design is a manifesting generator. So
me too.
This is why we get along so well.
This is why we get along. Exactly.
I'm usually that person who's like, oh, this sounds like a good idea. Let me run with it.
Yeah.
But I so see the benefit of planning because just like you said, you know exactly when you can go see a friend, you know exactly when you're recording your podcast. It almost takes what I tell my clients, it takes the emotion out of, I'm not sitting here thinking, because like I record my podcast with guests on Tuesdays. I don't think, am I going to feel like it that day? Maybe it's just
know.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares if I feel like it or not? This is just what I'm doing.
Yeah. The plan, and here's the thing. Every year I end up doing, a specific thing with my clients. I call it the CEO retreat, in which we go through and we plan out the year. We plan out what we're going to be doing, and then we break down the plan and the goals into specific actions and specific things that we need to get done, that we need to from day to day. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we love the freedom that our business brings us. However, that freedom really it comes from us knowing what needs to be accomplished. When we work for corporate, there's specific targets and strategy and things that need to get done. As an entrepreneur, we don't have somebody else telling us, hey, that marketing plan starts today, that campaign, but we need to plan for it. We need to plan for all these activities that actually create traction and can help us move forward.
There's so much freedom in having a plan, a schedule. I have a client who is a money coach, and her thought leadership is it's money mindset and money management. She's like, so many people think that budgets are restricting. She goes, when actually they're very freeing. And
very freeing.
Because you've already, a budget is a plan for your money. You know exactly where the dollars are going.
Yeah, indeed.
And
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, and when we plan our day, plan our year, when we plan our year, it makes it so much easier to plan our months.
Yeah, for sure.
And plan your weeks and your days.
And your days. I have theme days, and I think that this is something that, again, I'm working out the kinks, but in the last year or so, it really has helped me a lot. It has helped me really be able to focus on what I need to focus on. Monday is my admin CEO day, is the day in which I go through, and I do take some appointments. I do some networking on Mondays, but really just go back and look at what is, so I actually am looking in the side because that's where I have my little plan. I keep my January goals up in the screen, and I go through, like, what are these things? What did I say in December sometime that I needed to accomplish? Because I have a yearly plan. And although these are like specific tasks, it focuses me. And people don't realize that it's very important to break down that yearly goal into the chunks that you can manage on a daily basis.
Yeah. And one of the things I tell clients is like, give it a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't even have to plan out the entire year. How about just like 3 months?
Yeah.
Give it a shot and see what happens. If it doesn't work for you, you can either fine tune it or you can go back to your old ways, which weren't getting you results anyways.
Yeah. Have you heard of the book, The 12-Week Year?
I have heard of it. I have not read it yet.
So good. Highly recommended. It is.
Say why for everybody who hasn't either heard of it or read it.
Yeah. So the 12-week year, one of the things that it really forces you to do is to really take your year and plan it into those manageable chunks. So I have a goal for the year, right? But let's break it down into the quarter. And you come up with, these are the things that I want to accomplish this quarter. And then there's two different types of metrics when we're measuring progress, because you have to drive your progress through the data that you collect, right? There is a leading metric and there's a lagging metric. Most of us entrepreneurs think that, hey, if I'm making this kind of money, this is a good metric to track. But that tracking your income, for instance, is what we call a lagging metric. And that's where the book refers to it as well. The lagging metric is something you really can't control. You can't control, you can send an invoice, you can decide to do X, Y, Z, but what you can really control is the action. So the leading metrics are the ones that you can control. How many sales calls are you going to have? How many proposals are you sending out? How many videos of content are you putting out on social media? How many podcasts you're going to be on, right? All of that, tracking all of these numbers are eventually, putting your name out there, or I'm going to reach out to 10 people today that, had inquire about my service, right? Maybe your lagging metric is that you're going to get X amount of revenue, but the leading metric of reaching out to 10 people is what's going to drive that lagging. So that totally, and what is it, right? It's for each goal, you create your 4-step action plan. And then the most important thing is you evaluate at the end of the week. So for instance, for me, and I don't do it at the end of the week, I do it on Mondays. I go through and I'm like, what did I do last week that were the 4 or 5 items that I needed to get done, and grade myself. So if I have one goal, I break it down into 5 steps. And then for each of those 5 steps is a 20%. So did I show up at 100%? And I don't always show up at 100%, but I'm looking for excellence, not perfection. And if I'm at a 20% in the actions that I needed to take to get my goal, then you know what? Maybe I'm maybe a little mediocre. Maybe I'm a little needs improvement. And these are the things that the book really talks about. And it really has helped to support that process for me.
And here comes that mention of it's okay to be imperfect.
It's okay to be imperfect, but it's the knowledge is the power. And again, to tie it back into tiny habits, if you show up at a 20%, it's not about beating yourself up. Oh my God, I'm terrible. I'm a 20%. No, I'm a 20% and have the opportunity to be at a 25% and not a 0, because I started at 0.
Yes.
I started at 0 and my gosh, I'm at 20%. Good for me. Yay. And I have 10 more weeks in this 12-week period that I can continue to shoot from there, right?
Bro, I'm thinking of, I think it was last summer, how I really embraced my imperfection was we have a tractor and my husband didn't have it transferred over from the snowplow to in time. And I was like, all right, so I'm the exercise enthusiast in the house. So I was like, fine, I was going to use the push mower. We have a big lawn, and he came home and saw how I mowed the lawn. He was like, you're supposed to overlap. You literally could see tall grass everywhere. I was like, it's done. It's done. And it got him.
And that's the thing, Laurie-Ann, we all start as beginners at everything. And we need to give ourselves the grace that it's not always going to be perfect. That we are going to fail, and that the failure is not a designation on us, right? It's actually a roadmap for improvement. It's a roadmap to learning. It's really the first step in learning.
It really is. So in planning, one of the things that I see in the online space, because I see a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I want to get into speaking. I'm ready to get into speaking. And then I'll go to their website and it's there's no speaker page.
Yeah.
You don't even say speaker in your bio. And I find that a lot of times people are not planning speakers or planning to be guest experts or on podcasts. They're expecting things to come to them. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, when it comes to me, I'll be ready. I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
No, for sure. And again, we see the people who are speakers and we think, I want that. But what did they do? They clear their calendar. They hone in their skills. They went to Toastmasters. They maybe wrote their signature talk, whatever it is. But there was a lot of work. They didn't just decide one day, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be successful at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's,
it definitely is baby steps. And I remember saying to a coach when I wanted to get more into speaking, and I had just made the decision. I just said, well, I'm going to get ready to be ready. Mm-hmm. And I was crafting a couple of presentations so that if somebody did call me to say, hey, our speaker dropped out that we had planned for, let's just say the following week, can you fill in?
Yeah.
And I'm able to say yes, even the day before, as long as my calendar is open, but I can say yes to that because I have a couple of talks all ready to go. And if anything, what I want people to really understand, when you are ready like that, you are wearing your red cape, is what I call it, for the meeting planner. Because they need to have a speaker. And if somebody drops out for whatever reason. It can be weather, it can be illness, it can be a family emergency, and they need to fill the slot. If they know that you're an available speaker, they're going to reach out to you.
Yeah.
You're saving the day. And guess what? People are going to speak so highly of you. So really, like, I don't know. I can't, stress enough, like, plan to be the speaker.
Yeah, for sure. Step into the role and be willing to, and here's the thing too, that happens. A lot of coaches, and many of the clients that I work with, they want to be they want to be a coach, yet they don't tell people they're a coach.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it. I'm like, how do people find you? Like, if you have this, and by the way, we can probably spend another hour in the conversation, because many individuals don't want to sell themselves. And the sales is such a dirty word to people, but it really is about providing value to somebody else. And when you're giving them, whether your keynote as a speaker, or your service as a coach, or your product as a product maker, someone needs that or wants that, and you're doing them a disservice by not offering it to them if it's going to solve something for them, if it's going to do something for them that they're looking for. And in speaking, we're putting a lot of content out there that maybe someone didn't hear, or maybe has heard, but you're hearing it from you in a different way, because only you can provide that message in your spin, in your way. And that's what people are looking for. The content is not new. The concepts, we talk about things that people have been talking about for a long time, but never have Laurie-Ann and Julie talked about it.
Yep.
Right? And that's the difference in the way that we're delivering what we're delivering.
What's that phrase? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah, for sure.
Just
absolutely.
Like suddenly it all makes sense.
It just all makes sense. Yeah.
It could be your story, the way that you tell your story. It hits somebody in a different way, and they finally take action. But getting out there and sharing our stories, and this whole thing about being imperfect, we all start somewhere. I had a friend who, she wanted to start a YouTube channel, and she wanted to wait until she had like hundreds of videos to tell people about it.
No.
She was like, but what will my clients think? Like, they'll just think that you're starting out, and they don't have to watch 100 videos to get caught up. They'll be like, oh, the great is 5. I can watch 5.
I can watch 5 and really become your super fan and your advocate.
Yes.
And tell other people about it.
So we all start with one. Yeah. I started with my first speech. I started with my first Facebook Live, which came after being a professional speaker. And I always tell people this, I should make sure that I link it up in the show notes, because I want people to go watch how flat and lack of personality I had.
100%. And people don't realize that, again, even with the podcast, I go back and I listen to my first few episodes, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness. Yet, you know what? They were very successful. People listen, and the people that started to listen grow with me. They have grown, and the people that have been listening from the beginning are fervent advocates, promoters, friends that share the show, that love the growth. And that's, we need to involve people into our journey, because people promote and support what they help to build.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so true from my leadership days. Instead of, how companies believe in having like, here's our mission statement. I used to tell, clients that I worked with, you need a mission statement for your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would tell them, like, don't create it for them. Create it as a group, because then you get so much buy-in. How
Absolutely.
They're going to create that and do their part for the better all of the company. Yeah. But the same thing, that just like take people along on your journey.
Yeah. It's beautiful to be able to do that. And again, it's something that people feel, going back to what we've talked about, people feel like, oh, what if they think less of me because I'm showing my cracks in the foundation? But people will support you and will say, oh, I can relate to that. Yeah. And think about the people who we relate to the most. They're the people who are, the overly used word lately is authentic, but it's true. Mm-hmm. That resonates because then we feel like more connected to them.
And being authentic is knowing who you are.
Knowing who you are. Absolutely.
And one of the things, like I got a question recently about how to sound less scripted when she was doing her lives. And I said to her, here's what I tell my clients to do. Like, we decide.
Yeah.
Like, one of the foundational things that we do together is you decide what kind of speaker do you want to be?
Right.
And this like really comes from my leadership days, because I would find too many leaders trying to figure out like how to move up in the company. And that was, well, let me do what they're doing. Well, no, that's their style. You need to have their own style. And as a speaker, I believe you need to come out with like, what is your style? Mm-hmm. Remind yourself of what those 3 words or 3 short phrases are constantly. So before you hit the go live button for Instagram, for Facebook, for LinkedIn, remind yourself of what those 3 words are.
Yeah.
And be those words, like, because that's your authentic self.
Absolutely. And if I were trying to be this person and have that kind of business and do it just like they're doing it, my business would fail because I'm not that person. That's not even you and I, who are very similar personalities when it comes to the DISC, when it comes to the human design, when it comes to the Enneagram, the reality is that our flavor is very different because it is infused with our experiences. It is infused with our values. And those are the differences that can make somebody, right? Think about even brands that we see out into the world. We have, we can have a Nike or we can have a Reebok. What are the 2 differences? Well, the people that started them are very different people. And their journey was very different, and their experiences and what they valued and what they felt needed to be important in that was totally different. So be okay with being unique. Be okay with being who you are and infusing your system, infusing your way of doing things, because that's what's going to attract your people.
It is. This has been a fabulous conversation. Yeah. And there's so much more that I want to dive into. So I've got a feeling that you're going to have another second appearance on the Be in Demand podcast.
I would love that. It is so fun to be here. Laurie-Ann, what an incredible host. Thank you so much for hosting me. Your listeners are incredibly fortunate to have you guide them through this process of being in demand and learning and growing and putting themselves out into the world.
Thank you. Thank you. And for my listeners, would you please tell them where they can follow you, learn from you, and all that good juiciness?
Absolutely. So I am Julie DeLucca-Collins, and that's DeLucca with 2 C's, in all of the platforms. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, I believe. Definitely I'm hanging out more in Facebook, Instagram. Those are my 2. And then, of course, you'll see the TikToks that appear from time to time. And my podcast is Casa de Confidence, and my website is goconfidentlycoaching.com.
Wonderful. And I know that you have a freebie that you want to offer the audience.
Absolutely.
Tell them about that and what it is.
Absolutely. So my best gift to you is to help you in creating those tiny habits that make a difference, help you show up consistently to build your confidence. So to participate in the 5-day, which is free, you can participate in a 5-day coaching of tiny habits. It takes less than 5 minutes a day for 5 days, and you will create the habits that will help you be successful. You can go to goconfidentlycoaching.com/quick links, and you will see the link in there for Tiny Habits 5-day challenge.
And that will be down in the show notes as well. So Julie, thank you so much for taking some time out today. And Listeners, thank you for being here. And as always, be in demand.
I love it. Thank you, Laurie-Ann.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode here with the Be in Demand podcast. And if you feel like I want to start speaking, but if you feel like you have to be perfect, I want to encourage you to get rid of that perfect jacket that you might be wearing. Book a call with me. Let me talk to you a little bit more about what it's like. The speaking world can be very elusive, and people are constantly wondering, like, what is the secret to getting booked? I have a couple of different offers. I have a couple of different programs ranging from free to fee, and I will help you decide what's the best one. So you can book that call with me at chatwithla.com. And until then, be in demand. Thanks for hanging out with me. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And join me over in my private Facebook group for more tips, community, and free trainings. You'll find the link in the show notes. You can also help this podcast reach more listeners by leaving a review. And as a thank you, each month I pick one of my reviewers to win a free coaching call with me. So if you haven't done so already, please leave a review and you could be the next winner.